Vicky i Greg, czy moglibyście powiedzieć trochę więcej o historii? Jak to się wszystko zaczęło?
Actually, the roots of functional manual therapy began during my 7 years. It's actually my first 7 years of practice at Kaiser Vallejo. There I got to study the PNF program under the co-creator of PNF, Maggie Knott. These were life-changing times for me because I started to see how important the neuromuscular system was in enhancing mechanical function and neuromuscular control. Therefore, during this time, I became interested in many other manual therapy systems. I studied Kaltenborn, Maitland, Syriacs, most of the osteopathic systems, and even got interested in alternative systems such as Rolfing, Feldenkrais, Traeger work, and Aston patterning. Each one of these helped to develop in me a desire to help patients and to work towards achieving their optimal potential of mechanical capacity, neuromuscular function, and motor control.
So I had the opportunity to come into Gregg's life and the growing approach of FMT right after I graduated from school as well. I met Gregg. He was my instructor along with Sue Adler, the author of the book PNF in Practice, and they were my instructors and mentors when I was at Kaiser Vallejo. And it didn't take long for me to realize that Gregg and I had a real similar viewpoint in looking at patients. We didn't just want to get rid of their pain, we wanted to actually enhance their function. And so following in Gregg's footsteps, I began to study with all the greats in the other systems of techniques. I studied systems of techniques for manual therapy in the area of mobilization, manipulation, and I studied also systems of techniques for enhancing the neuromuscular function. Motor control, though, that's a new word. That came along in the early 80s. So as Gregg and I were on our journey to enhancing function and trying to help our patients discover their optimum potential, we soon came to realize that the mechanical system alone and the neuromuscular system alone, neither of those worked alone, but even together something was missing, and that was the motor control. So luckily the 80s were kind of the hotbed of research looking at motor control, especially in the area of the neurological patient, and in orthopedics it was about that whole thing we call today the core. People started doing research and trying to understand how did motor control affect our function, how could we define the motor control of our function, and how important was certain neuromuscular function in that motor control. For the neurological patient, it was a little easier. We were looking at repetition, resistance, breaking large down into small parts, putting it back together. But for the orthopedic patient, it was a brand new discovery. It was a brand new world for orthopedic therapists, for manual therapists to even think about motor control. They tended to think that belonged in the realm of neuro only. But Gregg and I, on our journey to help our patients achieve their optimum potential and really come to an understanding of that systematic approach of functional manual therapy, we knew we needed to bring in motor control. So the history of FMT really is, it started with neuromuscular function and motor control. It began to grow as we looked at how did we take that knowledge and treat our orthopedic patients, which made us understand the mechanical system so much better. But it ended when we realized that our orthopedic patients needed the neuromuscular function and motor control just as much as our neuro patients. And that's why the history of FMT really establishes the uniqueness of it. It's not a system of evaluation and treatment just for one type of patient. The systematic approach of functional manual therapy allows you to walk into the treatment room with any patient and feel like you can go, even if I'm scared to death about their diagnosis or their pathology, I know that within this patient, I need to assess their mechanical capacity, their neuromuscular function, and their motor control, and make sure that each system is complementing the other and allowing each system to be fully expressed in that patient's optimum potential.